This video disproves consumer's surplus and monopoly. This is the monopoly model developed by Chamberlain and Robinson. Competitive firms produce quantity QC, the price of PC, while monopoly QM and PM. The upper left corner above the PC line is called the consumer's surplus, and monopoly reduces such surplus to one above the PM line. So the reduced surplus measures the damage caused by monopoly. But part of the damage, the shaded rectangle, is absorbed by the monopolies as its profit. So the adjacent triangle is the definite damage, or deadweight loss. The traditional monopoly model is actually an adaptation from the so-called Ricardo's rent theory. According to Ricardo, if the tenant in land 1 can obtain an income of 100, while land 2 85, his landlord would have the power at the expiration of his lease of obliging him to pay 15 quarters for additional rent. This looks like the traditional monopoly model. In particular, rent equal to 15 looks like the monopoly's profit. But what if this theory is not Ricardo's intent? In fact, Ricardo elaborated further. In the same manner, when number 3 land is brought into cultivation, the rent of number 1 would rise to 20 quarters. Hence, the rent of land 1 rises from 15 to 20. If the rent of land 1 can increase from 15 to 20 due to the inclusion of a more inferior land, it can also continue to increase due to further inclusion up to the last or the worst piece of land. In that case, the whole 100 becomes land 1's rent. Likewise, the whole 85 is land 2's rent, etc. Ricardo's rent theory actually describes the demand for land. This comprehensive Ricardo's rent theory will disprove consumer surplus and the traditional monopoly model. Since the whole 100 of land 1 is tenant's rent payment, the difference between its 100 and 85 is not consumer's profit. However, another difference between 100 and 85 would be profit. If the land 2 tenant could relet the land to someone else at 100, but that is arbitrage, not real profit. 4 lessons. Number 1, Ricardo fumbled with the price difference of the 2 lands and attribute the difference in land 2 to land 1. The difference in land 1 is not consumer's profit or surplus. Number 3, unless you can cheat someone else, The price difference in lane 2 does not exist. Number 4, either by lesson 2 or 3, any area above the lower rent line is not consumer's surplus. This disproves the consumer's surplus concept. As mentioned, Chamberlain and Robinson claimed that the reduced surplus measures the damage caused by monopoly. But it has just been proved that any area above the lower price line is not consumer surplus. When there is no consumer surplus to be lost, such model also loses its evidence to tell the difference between monopoly and competition. So there is no evidence. This graph still consists of two market structures, PM, QM for monopoly, PC, QC for competition. Here is further disproof. The monopoly combination is derived from the profit maximizing condition, MR equal to MC. So Chamberlain and Robinson claimed that the competitive combination is derived from MC equal to D. Tulloch corrected this mistake. Any competitive firm must also operate under the same profit maximizing MR equal to MC rule. Then the combination for competition must also be PM, QM. This graph is completely invalid.